This one's for all the AFC marbles. Bills versus Chiefs, a fight to the finish today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. It's a Red Friday show to get you ready for the AFC Championship game. We're brought to you by Game Time. You can download that app, create your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL. It's going to get you $20 off of your first purchase. It's exciting times here in Chiefs Kingdom. 8 quarters away from another championship. They got to get through the first 4 here against the Bills, and we're going to run it down for you. The X factors, what we see happening, and what we predict. That's coming up later in the show. The must-win matchups are going to be key in this one, especially depending on who's going to be on the field. And this is just going to be a slugfest for old foes, ones that we talked about quite a bit yesterday with Joe Marino. Make sure you check out the crossover that we did on that show. A lot of fun there. We're going to break it all down for you. This is Chris Clark, my pal over at KC Chiefs Corner. I'm Ryan Tracy, founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, as well as RGR Football and NFL33.com, where if you're into the whole team building GM type stuff and what Mike Borgonzi means to this roster, you should probably go check that out. We are going to have a good time. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another Locked On show for your next listen. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell on all the platforms, because we're not just on YouTube. We're on audio all the place. Everywhere you can get a podcast, you can get us for free all the time. I'm excited about this, and if you're excited about just getting that last-minute edition, you can get us on the text line at 816-357-8781. This game is the fight for the right to play in that next
party.
Super Bowl, right? Yeah, you have to, right? It's like it's right there. But this has been a different fight this year, it feels like. All these close games. Losing to the Bills in what felt like kind of a – I know they've lost in the regular season before, but it felt just kind of ho-hum. You know what I mean? It all leads to this maybe being a more physical Bills team, one that's a little bit better at their run game, which I think are two things that make things a little bit more difficult for the Chiefs here. But they're healthy for the most part. Didn't get Mecole Hardman back. Obviously, Rasheed Rice still out, but got everybody else back. Like, they're ready to go. Everybody's kind of tuned up, well-rested, it seems. I know DeAndre Hopkins is doing a couple of things around town, like photo shoots and stuff, and he's taking it easy on them. Practice is geared to make them ready to make this fight, and I think they're ready to do it. But does all that lead up concern you in any way?
It doesn't concern me, and I will say I liked your intro about talking about 8 quarters to be another champion. Just want to throw out there that it's also possible that there's a couple more quarters included in that. With the way things have gone with the Chiefs and the Bills and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, who knows?
Yeah.
So we will see. But I will say this. To me, you look at this season, and it was ho-hum pretty much the entire season. You never really saw a huge sense of urgency from this team. I'm not going to say that they intentionally looked like they weren't trying to be urgent, but that's kind of the way it seemed for the most part. I mean, you look at how they played. Every single game was close. They never really seemed to be – there was a few times where you saw Patrick get pissed, but it was very rare this season. I don't think that's going to be the case. Like, he had the fire and the team had the fire. They had the drive. All that. But I do think that this is going to be a different game than we've seen from this Chiefs team all year, because when you go back and look at the first Buffalo game, I still don't think that there was that fire in that drive out there. The playoffs is just different, and it's different for this team. But you didn't see that last week either. So it also makes you wonder, is it something that they're going to be able to turn on for this game?
Right? I think being the Bills, and especially for those younger guys who haven't seen that ratchet, right? Like, okay, we are jumping our game up another level because it's the playoffs or because it's the championship game. For the young players, I think the good thing mentally about having to feel like you're back in a quarter a bit, it actually plays well for you to say, you have to give me everything you have because this team beat you the last time you took the field. And for the young players who haven't been through this kind of like jumping up as you get through each level of the playoffs, I think that may actually be the motivation that they need to try and match what the vets know they need.
Well, and you talk about young players, you're mainly talking about the guys that came in as rookies, because the reality is the guys that were here last year already know what's going on. and they've been here before. They know what's going to be happening. But the other thing that really goes into this and that really plays to the Chiefs' advantage is 21 days or 20, however many days it was from playing their last real regular season game to playing the Texans. That's how many days a lot of these guys that are going to be starting and playing had off. But not only that, you also had some of the rookies that did play a little bit more in that game against Denver, which helps their playing time and get ready for situations like this. But you also have a guy like Xavier Worthy who had time off and was able to recuperate and get ready for the gruelingness of the playoffs and a potential Super Bowl, because he is coming from college, and you usually see rookies hit a rookie wall late in the season. We haven't seen that from him, and it could be that this plays into helping him with that as well.
Well, and instilling that fight comes from Andy Reid by letting guys be who they are and the way that he approaches things. We saw the same thing with Rashee Rice, and they're still able to perform. So this, I think, is going to be a more physical version of this matchup. It was high flying, obviously, in the 13 game. It's always gone back and forth. This one feels a little bit more body blow than it is haymaker, maybe in the past. You know what I mean? So I want to see that fire, but I need them to be ready for a brawl. Like, I need them to be able to grind it out in the run game if they have to. I need them to be able to say, we're 3rd and 2. We have to go get this first down. We have to be physical on this end against a front that has gotten the better of us at times.
And that's exactly why I think that DJ Humphries needs to start, because Joe Thuney is okay at left tackle, but you need him in there in the interior. You need to have better run blocking. You need to be able to try to take it to him in the run game, and that is a huge thing in this one. I think that the run game is going to play a huge factor in who's going to win this. The nice thing is that the weather shouldn't be a factor. It looks like it's supposed to be around 40 degrees. So unless it's raining, which I don't think it's supposed to, it should be a relatively pleasant football day for January football, which, considering how they played the last week and how they've played in the past, isn't necessarily the case. So weather shouldn't be a factor, which would help, I think. Actually, it may not help either team, because both of them have running games. The Chiefs have a running game. The Bills have a running game. Yep. So, you look at it from that perspective. The other thing that really stands out to me in this that is different than any other time that we've seen the Chiefs in the playoffs lately is that Mahomes is coming in healthy. He's always had some kind of he's always had some kind of ankle issues. This is going to be different. He has the ability to come in healthy, and to some extent, and I know this is going to sound crazy, I wonder if that's going to be a detriment in some ways, because I do think that him being injured, knowing about his injury, actually takes his game to a whole nother level, because he has to focus more and realize he can't use his legs.
That is true. I completely agree with you on that part. How does he react to not being injured and being free-flowing? We hope that the creativity come out and that makes up for it. Who is he going to attack? Where are they going to go? Those are the matchups that have to be won. We're going through those next. It's playoff time, and if you're like me, you want to make the most of your final weeks of football action. That's where PrizePicks comes in. If you love football and you want a chance to win real money while watching games, PrizePicks is a place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. With PrizePicks, it's just simple, more or less on the player stats as they project them. Total passing yards, touchdowns, everything, with your shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds. And whether you're looking for a flex play or a boost to your payout, or you want cash out quickly, PrizePicks has got you covered. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, it's clear that people love this platform. I get into the action every single week, and it's always a Chiefs-oriented pick for me. But as we get down and things are getting narrow here at the end of the season, it just gets that much more tense. Here's a special offer for you guys. For Locked On NFL listeners, download the app today and use the code Locked On NFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a lineup for $5. That's PrizePicks. Run your game. Picking the matchup is part of the process. If you want more on what we think happens, check out KC Chiefs Corner and RGR Football. What we do outside of this show is a little bit different, but we always bring it back to the central crux of the problem, crux of the goal, and that is you got to win in these matchup spaces. Winning takes different forms. For me, at the left tackle spot, winning is about not getting Patrick hit. You're going to give up pressure no matter who's out there. I think the roadmap to attack Joe Thuney is out there from the film that he put on in the regular season. I was a little worried about that last week, but they weren't able to really take advantage of it. I'm a little more worried about the Bills. So I agree with you. I think DJ ought to be the guy that starts this game. But if he can, and he can just keep Patrick from being hit, even if he has to move off of his spot, I still consider that a win. Do you?
It's tough. I guess it's a win. The thing I will say is that when you look at this and you look at Patrick with DJ Humphries as left tackle, to me, I think that makes him stronger regardless of even if Humphries is a downgrade from what Thuney has been. The interior is what's more important to me, and the ability to run block and be able to push guys off the ball in the interior. Thuney has that ability, and I think that's what's more important. I'm not as worried about the Bills pass rush as I was about the Texans pass rush. I'm not going to say that the Bills pass rush is bad. It's not, but they don't have the same type of skill set on the outside that the Texans had. So to me, in a way, this actually should work better for Kansas City. So I do think that it should be a better situation. And if you really don't feel like Humphries can go and be out there by himself and be on an island like Andy Reid likes him to be, kick Peyton Hendershot out there and just have him go with Peyton Hendershot and DJ Humphries and chip him all game long, chip whoever's out there all game long. You have the best four linemen in a row that you can possibly have in Thuney and Humphrey and Smith and Taylor all together. And then you have one other guy that maybe a weak link is left tackle. It's either going to be left tackle or left guard is going to be the weak link. To me, having two weak links because your left tackle is Joe Thuney versus having one weak link at left tackle where you can move the pocket completely away from that side of the ball and do different things to negate the pass rush at times makes more sense.
I agree with you. There are ways to get around that. And that limiting to one issue, I think, does help. On the opposite side of the ball, there's another issue. When these teams last met, it was Najee Johnson that got targeted over and over and over and over. Well, you think you have that probably solved because Jalen Watson should be good to go. Najee may still be on the field, though, depending on how they deploy what is a different wide receiver set at this point. With Cooper being out there, Coleman, obviously Shakir is the focus, but I feel like they're in a better spot with Jalen no matter what happens with Najee, and I do think they will pick on him when he's on the field.
I agree with you on that. I want to finish one last quick point. If you don't play Humphries in this game, he's not playing in the Super Bowl. Yeah. So you have to decide. You have to make a decision. If he's going to play, you have to play him. If he's not, then it is what it is. As far as Najee is concerned, you're right. I mean, it's possible that he's going to get picked on, but having him picked on as the third corner is better than having him picked on as the second corner. And you're in a situation where the Bills don't have a specific guy that can go out there and beat you on a regular basis. They don't have a Stephon Diggs who you feel is a great threat. Yeah, Keon Coleman has his moments. Amari Cooper can have his moments. The bigger threat that the Bills really have, in my opinion, is both of their tight ends and Dalton Kincaid. That is their bigger threat, in my opinion, is those two guys going up against this Chief secondary and the linebackers. So to me, it's a question of, can you figure out a way? Because I don't think you have to double any of the wide receivers that they have. That would be normally what I would think you'd have to do if they had like a number one, like a Stephon Diggs, like they did prior. Trey McDuffie can do a lot, but you still consider doubling somebody. I don't think they have to do that at wide receiver, but they may need to do it at tight end, and maybe that's how they take advantage of the Bills offensively. Yeah, I think so. They ran their offense through Shakir, 11 targets for 8 receptions last time, but they had no Kincaid that time. And I do believe Dawson Knox had a couple of catches, but it wasn't enough to really like shift the balance. So those matchups in particular are ones that you have to win as well. And I think it does come down to who's in the slot versus who at the safety position to take away some of those tight end runs or passes. Because I think in particular, Kincaid is more dangerous. I think we've seen him make plays against Justin Reid. We've seen him make plays against Nick Bolton. Do you risk Tranquil
who I think has been pretty quiet lately, but should also have really benefited from the rest? Do you bring down Chamari Connor? I think Chamari's a guy that I think is feast or famine against bigger tight ends. He generally has the quickness factor, and I think that's better than him versus a slot receiver. But he also can get muscled at times. So I think he might be one of the pivotal players on this roster.
The crazy thing is that it's a big question as to how they're going to defend the pass, but it's also a big question as to what you're going to do with Josh Allen when you're in those passing situations. Because the reality is that not only do you have to worry about him passing the ball and you have to worry about covering all the 5 wide receivers or tight ends or running backs or whatever, but you have to worry about him running the ball. And how are you going to defend against that? Who are you going to have as a spy? Because you have to spy Allen. You can't just let him run, or you can't just let him, have people go down the field and let him find running lanes to go. I mean, that's just not something you can do with this guy. The reality is that they've played Allen enough. They have a pretty good idea of what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. So they should have a good way of going about trying to defend him. But, it starts with, defending the pass, but you also have to worry about Josh Allen, because look at what he did last time. 4th and 2 and goes for 26 yards. Yeah. They knew exactly what the defense was. They ran the perfect play to beat it, and it won them the game. Now, I'm not going to say that's a huge matter right now, because obviously it was regular season, and I still think you and I both agree that they weren't putting everything out there and they were holding stuff back. I still think they held stuff back last week. And I think that we're going to see a different Chiefs offense this week. Are we going to see a different Chiefs defense, and how are they going to be different than what they've showed to Buffalo in the past?
Well, they're not going to get 3 sacks off of tight ends trying to block George Karlaftis. I can pretty much guarantee you that.
Yep.
Not only are their tight ends better blockers to begin with, but I don't think the Bills are silly enough to do that. Their use of the 6 linemen in particular, I think, really tries to thwart some of what we see the Chiefs do with their 4-man front. So it's about 5 pass rushers is the way that it's going to be. And it's going to be that offensive line versus defensive line matchup. Whoever can outmaneuver 5-on-5 is my thought. And if Spags gets to it, he can adjust from there. That may be one of the X factors. We're going to get to those coming up next. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, pretty much anything, even comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. The energy and excitement is absolutely unbelievable, especially if it's Zach Bryan or somebody that you really dig. Right now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets to your favorite events, whether it's a new feature, and this one really works, Game Picks. This feature filters out all the fluff. You only get the incredible deals on the great seats that you're looking for. You don't have to waste time searching for thousands of tickets on and off, back and forth. I love this, and I've used it most recently on a comedy show. We did something over New Year's. It was great. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL. That'll get you $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. This is one of my favorite segments, folks. So make sure that you enjoy this, and also make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, checking out everything else that we do around the interwebs, and ready to go for this ball game. It is going to be a fun game. We will be live for you post-game with Matt Derrick, probably a little bit delayed depending on what the outcome of the ball game. So be prepared for that. But there's a lot, I think, of possibilities here. As you said, the Chiefs offense maybe held some stuff back, could come out and do some crazy things. What's the number one X factor for you?
I think the X factor is Hollywood Brown. He's a piece that they didn't have the last time they played the Bills, and he is a chess piece that changes everything for this offense, in my opinion. And it goes beyond just being able to have a higher tier wide receiver. It's more of, you sit here and you look at it, and you have DeAndre Hopkins play the Rashee Rice role. Now you have Hollywood Brown, who can come in and be a legitimate number 2, high level number 2. And now you are in a situation where Xavier Worthy can be that third guy. He can be a slot guy. He can play outside, don't get me wrong, but it changes what you have the ability for him to do. And that doesn't even take into account what Travis Kelce can do. And you saw how well he played last week. He looks a lot younger than he did during the entire season. He looked like he was rejuvenated because of the rest. And I think that he gets up for the bigger games. This is going to be a game where it's going to be huge for him. He's already gotten all the records that he can possibly probably get in the playoffs, other than total yardage, and he's close to passing Jerry Rice in the playoffs. So it's going to be fun to see how this goes. And then you throw in the other pieces. You look at some of the other X factors. Noah Gray could play a huge role in this game. Mm-hmm. If they take away Travis Kelce, Noah Gray has the ability to step in and just find a spot in a soft spot in the zone and get a first down, get a big first down. Mahomes trusts him. Is it going to be a situation where he's going to get 5 passes on third down? No. But can he be a guy that can get you 20 yards when you need 19? Yeah.
Certainly can. I think for me, the X factor that really stands out to me, because I think this is one of the things that could turn the tide, is going to be the linebackers and how they deal with James Cook. I think he is the X factor the defense has to be keyed into, because he's been a better pass catcher. He's been a better runner this year. And we all know they're willing to give up yardage on the ground. That's perfectly fine. But he can take a chunk, a 13 or a 15-yard run, and turn it into a home run. And that's the problem. So whether it's safeties, whether it's doubling up on the linebackers, yes, you have to shadow Josh, but you have to be able to attack the gaps in the run game in order to make it about Josh. And I think that's part of the game plan.
Another X factor I think that actually is kind of going to be a surprise one is Nico. Go look at the Buffalo Bills. They're allowing like 30 yards per return. Nico is averaging close to 29. So if he can pop one, and I'm not saying it has to go for a touchdown, but if he can pop one for 50, 60 yards, give the Chiefs a short field, that could change the game. The only fear that you have is he's also put a couple on the ground. So it can be an X factor in multiple different ways, one good and one bad, potentially.
That's the hard part. Let's hope that things settle down. It's not, like you said, it's not going to be freezing. I'm sure the Miami Dolphins aren't very happy about how warm it's going to be in this game, but I don't really care. But I think the next X factor for me is going to be the rookie Coleman, because the matchup is there, but I don't know that he knows enough that the matchup probably has him behind. So there are going to be those plays that I think he could just hoss something. And I do think that is a possibility, especially if they have to do any platooning between Najee Johnson and Joshua Williams. If they have to give some plays off to Jalen Watson, depending on his stamina, I don't think he'll need it, but you never quite know because he hasn't been back that long. So I think if you're watching and from the defensive standpoint, paying attention to what Coleman's doing off of Khalil Shakir in particular is what I would have my eye on.
Yeah, I think my last X factor when I look at this game is going to be how big of a game is Nick Bolton going to have? And it's because of James Cook. You said it. He can be a nightmare for this team if they allow him to be a nightmare for this team. If Nick Bolton is on the field and he's able to read and he's able to, get people out of his way and he's able to play run defense like they have at times this season, this is going to be a good game for the Chiefs defense. If he isn't able to get off blocks, he's not able to read it, and he's not able to get in the right positions, that's going to be a problem. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not just Bolton. It's obviously all the linebackers, and the linemen have to help get him in the right position. But Bolton has the chance to be a huge X factor in this game. The other reason that it plays such a big thing for this team and for Bolton in particular, he's a free agent after this year.
Yep. This
is a marquee matchup on a huge stage. He has the opportunity to go make some big money if he has a big game in this one.
Yeah, he'll certainly seal the deal on that. There are a number of free agents on there that are kind of in the same position, but Nick probably is first and foremost on making the decision whether he's here again or not. So it makes it difficult to really project because he has been in positions, even in Super Bowls, where he is the guy that makes that difference. And so I feel like he, amongst a lot of other players on this roster, especially the quarterback on the other side of the field, is able to raise his game when he needs to. So I look forward to that. He was going to be somebody that I mentioned in my preview because X factor, he'll be on the field all the time, and I think that makes sense. But I see this as a blow for blow. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring. I don't think it's 34-31 or something like that. I think it is lower than that. But I see it as at most like a 4-possession game. And I do think as long as the Chiefs get a little bit lucky and can control that middle section, the end of the first half, the beginning of the second, hopefully by getting the ball and earning that deferral on the coin flip. I think that's a big key in getting it so that the rhythm of the game and the way both these teams have been taking a little bit longer drives could set the Chiefs up to not only have the first drive of the second half, but maybe the last drive of the second half. And that probably is what cinches it. I have the Chiefs winning this game, going to the Super Bowl 28-27.
Oh, so you're saying I'm going to need my heart medication on Sunday?
Yeah, get the nitro out, man.
Yeah. No, I don't take nitro, but reality is that they have played in so many games this season where it's been close. And I also, we talk about them holding stuff back. We talk about them being in situations that challenge them to show just enough to where they can get the victory. The Bills haven't had to do that. And while some people may think that it's great to blow teams out, and I would love for the Chiefs to blow teams out, that would be fantastic. I don't think this roster, and I don't think that this version of Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid are ever going to get worried about if they get down even 2 scores in this game. We've talked about it a dozen times, and probably more than that, about how if the Chiefs get down 10 points, it's almost a foregone conclusion that they're going to win the game. I won't go that far, but the reality is that this team has been playing close games just about every single game this season. They have won in how many different types of ways? Last second kicks, blocked last second kicks. All these different ways that this team has found a way to win. A toe being out on the first game. I mean, there's lots of different ways that you could say that this team has found a way to win when it matters most, and to put them in a position to where they had that extra break and they get to the AFC Championship game for the 7th straight year, hosting 6 years of those 7. This team is built differently. Patrick Mahomes is built differently. Andy Reid is built differently. Travis Kelce is built differently. And Chris Jones also has a chance to cement his legacy to a further extent by becoming a bigger figure in this game. We haven't really even talked about Chris Jones. Playoff-wise, I'm not going to say he disappears, but he doesn't seem to have big games in the playoffs. He absolutely needs to have a big game in this one. Getting 2 sacks in this game changes it for Kansas City. I do think that Kansas City wins this one. I do think Kansas City is going to move on to the Super Bowl. I don't know, 28-27. I really hate that. I'm going to go 27-21 Kansas City. 6 points still isn't enough to make it feel like it's a comfortable win, but I do think that Kansas City finds a way to get it done, and I think that they find a way to go to their 3rd straight Super Bowl, and we will see who they face.
Yeah, this will be a lot of fun. We'd love to know what you think is going to happen. Put your score prediction and who wins down below in the YouTube comments. Hit us on Twitter. X. What it is now. You can find us pretty much on all social at the @ that you see below. Check those handles. Thank you for being with us. This is a fun time, maybe the most fun time of year right now, when it's all on the line for everything in the AFC and that chance to go to the circus that is the Super Bowl. But we appreciate you riding with us and being with us on this journey. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have it. You're ready. We'll have it for you post game. Don't miss it. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll talk to you then.